Welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron, and thank you for joining me for another Monday evening live stream talking about microcap stocks and a lot to talk about. It's been a busy month with Planet Microcap closing. It's now been 2 or 3 weeks since Planet Microcap, and I want to talk a little bit about that today. And I want to talk about it because now that we're about 2 or 3 weeks past Planet Microcap conference, which was an important event for microcap investors where 500 plus different investors got introduced to 100 plus different stocks. I did a bunch of research on it and I wanted to see if my research was actually productive or not. So I started digging into it today for the purposes of this live stream. So as always, I got a little presentation here for you today on microcap stocks. I will introduce you to some good microcap stocks. That's what I do here on this channel, is talk about them so you can, learn about some different microcap stocks, figure out which ones you like, and then potentially hopefully make money in the future. As usual, feel free to ask questions or put anything in the comments that you want to talk about. Sometimes I get to a couple comments during the live stream. Other times, once I'm done my presentation, I got time. I'll stick around and we could chat about any microcap stock you want that I know. I mean, there's a lot of microcap stocks out there that I don't know. But today my presentation is essentially research plus strategy equals money. And I really mean this because we talk about this all the time where, microcap stocks, penny stocks, nano cap stocks, pico cap stocks are really given a bad name, essentially by people that don't want retail investors investing on their own and making money, because then you don't have to pay somebody to do it. But over and over, I try to show that, it's not that hard, where if you can learn how to research microcap stocks, build a strategy, which you get from other people, steal the best strategies from other microcap investors, build works for you. And if you put in that little amount of time that it takes to research some of these stocks and then keep a strategy that works, eventually you tend to essentially make money in microcap stocks. That's what I try to prove out for the most part anyway, just to show people, right? This space is not a space that is money losing. This is the best place to be for retail investors. Now, I know the market's been poor for the last little while, right? We had finally a today because there's, China and the United States starting to work out a trade deal. 90-day pause on tariffs. Tariffs have been reduced for that amount of time. So things are looking up today. But overall, it's been a pretty lousy market. I've been talking a lot about this. Turn off the news, turn off the scare, just focus on individual stocks. I like fear. I like it when the market goes down and when price of stocks goes down, because all the time I'm told that this time is different and it's the end of the world and the stock market's going to crash. And then usually it rebounds and I make money. So typically I say that there's, look at individual stocks. There's very attractive valuations out there on some very good companies, very profitable companies. Same with Ian Castle. I've been talking a lot because a lot of Ian's texts recently have mirrored my own, or mine mirrors his, I should say. Instead of timing a bottom, you should be slowly adding to the businesses you love, regardless of the market. We talk about a few things that we've been looking for, essentially survival lessons in a bad market. And a lot of this is, selling the weak stocks, getting more diversified. For me, that means, again, doing your research, putting in the time to do your research, having a strategy so you know what's weak, what isn't weak, and investing more into the stocks, more diversification into the best stocks out there that you can find. Now, recently for Planet Microcap, I did that through a Substack where I talked a lot about Planet Microcap Showcase in Vegas. And I was talking about why this is so important for microcap stocks, with two of the main points being that Planet Microcap Showcase had so many investors going to that event. They were all bringing cash and they were all very good investors. So this isn't random. These aren't, a lot of hedge funds that think differently than me. These are a lot of other good cap investors that are looking for the same thing that I am looking for. So if I can get ahead of Planet Microcap with my research and find the best stocks before they go to Planet Microcap, I was thinking that could be very profitable. So I have a whole Substack article talking about why Planet Microcap is so important, but also what I was looking for, from good management and a good company and cheap to, secret knowledge that possibly management has to tell the investors there, and social proof. If there's other investors there that can say to other good investors, great company, great stock, you should really buy it. So these are the things that I was looking for with Planet Microcap. And that's what I'll look at today. Is I'm going to pull out some of the stocks that I thought were good ones at Planet Microcap and see if this really turned into a positive experience for me. So before I get into that, don't forget, not a financial advisor, not your financial advisor, right? That's not the point of this. I'm communicating different strategies, my own strategy especially, right? This is how I invest, on how to invest. So it's not a solicitation to buy, sell, or hold any of these stocks. I'm more talking about how to learn how to invest in microcap stocks and building a strategy that's right for you. I don't want anybody to copy me, right? You take the little pieces of what all the best microcap investors are doing and you put it all together into something that works for you. So I went a little bit crazy. I mean, Planet Microcap was April 22nd to the 24th in Vegas. I did about 5 weeks of research before Planet Microcap. I listed out every stock going there, and that was 112 different companies, right? All of these articles, all of these were free, and I sorted them alphabetically. Every stock that was attending Planet Microcap, I researched. This was a ton of work. And what I did is I ranked them into different, just what I liked and what I didn't like, right? You can see I gave them different grades. It was nice, like going back to the old school days where some stocks got an A, some stocks got a B, some stocks got a D or C, D, and then I went all the way down to E. So I ranked them not necessarily on the best company, but again, I ranked them on whether or not they met the criteria of what I thought microcap investors were looking for at this conference. And I wrote it all in articles. And at the end, what I did after putting out all of these free articles, I ended up putting out a few different articles that were paid for my paying Patreon and my paying Substack subscribers. So we have a couple of those articles right here. Now, when I go look at that, my top stocks, these were my top 5 stocks from that article: McCoy Global, NTG Clarity Networks, Covalon, Crexendo, and Zoom Technologies were my top 5, right? When we go look at the performance of these stocks since then, McCoy Global, so it was trading around 250 to 270, 275 before Planet Microcap. This pink arrow is the 22nd, which is when Planet Microcap started. In 1 month, McCoy Global is up 31%. So that was my number 1 pick. Pretty successful. 31% in 1 month, right? That's not bad. NTG Clarity Networks, my second one, up same amount, 31% in 1 month for NTG Clarity Networks. Took a little while after Planet Microcap to get noticed. There wasn't a lot of people paying attention at Planet Microcap, and then it got featured on BNN Bloomberg's Market Call by Jordan Zingberg at Bedford Park Capital. Thank you, Jordan. And up 31% in a month, despite not getting fully discovered here at Planet Microcap. Covalon. This is actually, you'll see in my entire list here of my top 10 stocks, Covalon at this point is the worst producing stock on this list, up 10% in the month. Didn't really get recognized at Planet Microcap. Only recently it got a little bump there, and up 10% in the month for my number 3 pick here with Covalon. Crexendo. A lot of people were surprised by this pick because it wasn't in my Patreon before this research that I did on Planet Microcap. This is why you do research. It beat my number 1 and number 2 picks, McCoy Global and NTG Clarity Networks, now up 32% in 1 month. It has been steadily climbing. I thought people would like this stock, and they do, steadily climbing since Planet Microcap. So fantastic research. And then finally, my number 5 pick from that article, Zoom Technologies couldn't stay down here forever. There was hints and signs, especially from the Small Cap Discoveries interview, when share price went up. If Small Cap Discoveries liked this stock, like what it had to say, there is a good chance that Planet Microcap investors would also like what this company had to say. And I mean, it's up 71% in 1 month for Zoom Technologies. So in the past month, my top 5 stocks heading into Planet Microcap, 35% average gain. This is why you do the research, right? This is why you look for the best stocks. Just diversifying into these 5 stocks, buying these 5 stocks 1 month ago before Planet Microcap, based on my research, up 35% for me, right? Now, the next article was top 10. So that was my top 5. These were the stocks rounding up out the top 10. Number 6, Adcore. 7, Acorn Energy, FitLife Brands, Coil Energy, and WidePoint. So these were the rounding out. And keep in mind, 110, 111, 112 stocks going to Planet Microcap. The top 10 is something like the top 9% of the stocks. In my opinion, top 9% of the stocks that were going to this event, right? That's why I put in so much work researching over 100 stocks to hopefully find the top 9%. Adcore, up 32% in 1 month. I bought this one down here at 22 cents. As I was doing my research, I was impressed enough with this company to buy down here. Now up 32%, up to 28.5 cents. Really work for Adcore, right? My number 6 spot. Acorn Energy, up 22% in the month. Nobody liked this one because OTCQB, so it's hard for some people to buy. Oh, it's overvalued. It's not my favorite company. There's more risk than reward built into the share price. It's a really good company, right? And it was trading between $14 to $15 when I did my research here. After Planet Microcap, it did not take long to get discovered, up to almost $18 here. That's fantastic for Acorn Energy. You seeing a pattern? 20 to 30, 35% for a lot of these stocks in my top 10. FitLife Brands, right? It was around $12 right here when I did my research and before Planet Microcap. There's Planet Microcap right here, pretty steadily up 34% in 1 month for FitLife Brands. Next up, Coil Energy, another lower one. Planet Microcap here, up 15%. So that's not bad, but one of the lower end stocks. And then WidePoint. Look at WidePoint. This is my number 10. I was hemming and hawing whether to include this one. I really liked it. There was some concerns about how Doge was going to impact this stock, but I put a little faith in management, saying that it would probably be a tailwind and not a headwind. Doge would be on this stock. I actually put this one in here, and it's up 99% in 1 month. Now, despite all of this going well, I do have to include the fact that to humble myself a little bit, because I actually sold WidePoint right about here. So I bought for just under $3. I sold at just over $4. So it's, I can't sit here and have a video where everything's up 20, 30% and not humble myself a little bit. One of the reasons is it went up to this price here. And I thought to myself, I'd like the cash because there's a lot of good opportunities out there. But as well, when I put this research in, I put about, 2 hours of research into WidePoint for them to make my top 10 list. That's not enough for me. So after the stock was up significantly after Planet Microcap, I thought, well, I'm going to sell my position. I'm going to take the time to do a little bit more research and see if I want to rebuy it later. And that was a mistake because it's now up to $5.61. So interestingly enough, if you look at my top 5 stocks, this is why, investing is so much fun and interesting. And it's not just a straight A to B to C, right? There's so many different factors because my top 5 stocks, 35% average gain, which I'm really happy about in the past month. And you look at my 6 to 10 stocks, the next top 5, rounding out the top 10, 40% average gain. So my 6 to 10 stocks actually outperformed my 1 to 5 stocks. A lot of that, though, I have to say, WidePoint Corporation up, 99%, which really helped the valuation on that one, right? So that's interesting. Now, you take a look at it, and those were my A stocks here. So I wanted to see, okay, you know what? Pretty consistent. This is why you put in the research. Pretty consistently, up 35% to 40%. The lowest producing stock on this list was up 10%. The highest producing one was basically a double in 1 month. That's solid, right? But what about some of these other stocks on my B list, on my C list, on my D list, everything else? So taking a look at some of the ones on my B list, also performing pretty well. Right? Not 35%, not 40%, not 100% like WidePoint, but Enwave Corporation up 24% in the month. That's not bad for a B-list stock. RenoWorks up 82%. This is another stock that I bought at around 22 cents, up 82% in the month, and up 16% today. So that's absolutely fantastic for RenoWorks. I was hoping they would get that kind of attention. I obviously didn't know it would go that high. Otherwise, I would have bought a lot more. But RenoWorks has done well. Titan Logistics, right, up 14% since Planet Microcap right here. So pretty successful. So the B list of stocks, 10%, 15% average, with the odd one outperforming, like RenoWorks is doing pretty well. Taking a look at some of the C list of stocks, there's some okay ones in here. Creative Realities, I made a YouTube video on them, up 16.9% in the month. This is them at Planet Microcap, so they obviously impressed pretty well right off the start. This is a company that offers digital signage solutions, try to market to you basically the second that you walk in a store. TAT Technologies, right, not bad, up 16% for the C list. Neat, up 11%. So, I mean, there's some, stocks on the C list that did okay too. Again, no 30, 40%, no doubles or anything like that. But some of the C list stocks were up 10, 11, 12%, 15%. That's not bad. We start looking at some of the lower down ones. Build Direct, 15% just about. I like them, right? So they impressed at Planet Microcap. Perfect Core, up 15% as well. You could tell the interest. This was Planet Microcap right here. Pretty significant interest right off the bat from investors. It's been pretty flat since then. And then you get into some of the lower list ones. So this is getting down to the bottom on my list, the bottom of these 110 stocks that I looked at. And, down 13% on the month for ElectroCore. This is a month where so many of these stocks are up 10 to 50%, right? There's a couple almost doubles in there, and ElectroCore is down 13%. American Air's down, 10.5%. What do we got here? Range Impact, that one's okay, up 18%. Lakeland Industries up 10%, right? Game Square up 7%. So it's not all bad, but you definitely see the trend. And this is why you do the research, right? At least in my opinion, that's why I wanted to make this video, is to show that, it took me all that time. I spent a month going through all these stocks, putting in all that time, effort, and research. I used a strategy. I ranked them from what I thought was going to be the best ones to the worst ones. And you're never going to bat 1,000 ever. It doesn't matter how long you do this. There's always going to be some stock down here that's going to be like a double that you somehow missed out on. There's always going to be some stock up here that's going to be, underproducing, overpromising, and underproducing. That's going to happen. You're never going to be perfect. But you could see with all that time and effort and research, you could see that it does pay off, because with it, I was able to rank, my top 5 with a 35% average gain, my top 10 in the 35 to 40% average gain, all pretty consistent over that time period. The lowest one being 10%, the highest one being basically a double, versus you get down into some of these lower stocks and it's really just hit or miss, right? And none of these are really hitting even. So This is why you put in the time, the effort, the research, all that work. All that work was worth though. That's money to be made. I own several of those stocks. I'm very happy at the returns I've been getting since Planet Microcap. So if you enjoy this video, if you like microcap investing, I don't promote myself well enough these days, but make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you want to keep watching some videos on stocks, on these microcap stocks that can make money like that and can perform very well. I'll be getting to comments here in a second. And don't forget, some of those articles that I released on my top 10 stocks, it's a lot of work. I do have to be compensated for some of that work. So I do have a paid Patreon. This is the best value basically for me. You get basically daily stock chat from me every day in the Discord, as well as you get all my Substack articles included with this Patreon. So you get everything. But I do recognize that a lot of people don't know, like Patreon. It does take some technology, a love for technology and some knowledge of technology to kind of enjoy Patreon. So for people that don't want to be on a Patreon Discord, I do have the Substack. And so this is just my articles and not my daily chat every day, but basically any stock that I think has potential ends up going on this Substack. So yeah, that's kind of the platform that I offer with all this work that I do. Now, don't forget, I also have to say thank you very much to Planet Microcap Showcase. I mean, yes, I put in a lot of work, researching 100 stocks and finding the best ones that I could make money on. They're the ones that put all this together, right? I don't think for a second that, some of these stocks that are up 30, 40, 100% would be up that much if it was not for Planet Microcap connecting investors with good companies and making sure they're highlighted. So shout out to them, as well as, their next event here is already getting booked for October 21st to the 23rd in Toronto, Canada, this year in 2025. So they have another event coming up pretty quickly here. And also in a weird sort of way, thank you to Donald Trump for crashing the market basically in February and March. Even with Planet Microcap, I'm looking at 1 month gains because that's basically the week before Planet Microcap when I did all this research. When I bought a lot of these stocks was about a month ago, and then Planet Microcap was around 3 weeks ago. Even with research, 35% average gains, 40% average gains in a month isn't normal. Basically, Trump crashed the market. Planet Microcap occurred basically at the perfect time around here, right? Assuming that we're back into somewhat of a normal or bull market, that was some pretty good timing for Planet Microcap. So I'm done. That's my presentation. A little bit of, it's nice to get some good returns every once in a while and keep you excited in microcap investing. So I don't want this video to come off as like bragging or anything, right? That's not the point. Some of these stocks are still down year to date. And that brings, together the question of something I'll probably cover on the next live stream, which is this fantastic post by Sebastian, which is the biggest lie ever sold to investors, is that buy and hold is virtuous while trading is foolish. I think in microcap stocks, you have to, keep both options on the table. I do. But at the same time, pretty good returns since Planet Microcap. I have to talk about that. That is why you do the research and put in the time. And unfortunately, Wide Point got a little bit, even though I made money, I could have made more. Right. So that's how I can humble myself with a stock like Wide Point up 99%. I captured myself about 40% of that. So I'm done. My presentation is over. I'm going to get to questions, concerns, comments, and anything else you want to talk about. And already we have quite a few questions here. So let me know. Always hard on live streams because Diamond Estate, no idea what company this is. Diamond Estate, is that wine and spirits? I probably have no interest in that whatsoever. If I could bring this up here. 18.5-cent stock, $12 million market cap, went up earlier. This is the year chart, down 2% for the year. I'm not sure what Diamond Estates Wine and Spirits does, but I can guess. Markets, distributes, and sells wine in Canada, China, and internationally. Not very bullish on that. Most of the articles that we see lately is that the younger generation is not buying alcohol, never mind wine. So there's, I'm not sure if this is going the way of the milkman. The revenue doesn't look great. Definitely seems to be trending down, which isn't very good. And EPS is negative for a long time. So, I mean, a lot of questions. That's just a quick look. Right now, though, I don't see why. You would have to convince me. Again, when you ask to look at a stock from anybody, not just me, but from anybody, when you ask to look at a stock, it's really good to put some kind of investing thesis out on the table, like why you're interested in it. Because just looking at Diamond Estates just for 10 seconds, my first question is, well, why? Why would I be interested? It doesn't look like it's profitable and growing. Next question is, do I like BQE water? Yeah, I do. I lose patience with BQE water. I mean, one of the things I like about BQE water, if you bring it up onto the screen here, is that you can make a living just trading the stock. It's so illiquid. Basically, I was joking around for a while. It was trading right in between $65 and $55. The joke in my Discord not too long ago was that you could make a living buying BQE water at $55 and selling it at $65. This was almost a guaranteed trade for a long time, right? It was just going up, down, up, down, up, down. Everybody, you couldn't buy a lot of shares, but even if you get your hand on 10 shares, you were making $100 every time the price swung, right? So lately it's been trending downward. Probably that's due to a little bit of valuation. I haven't looked at their numbers recently, but the reason why I haven't been covering them much at all is when you go to the historical data, I like a liquid stock. Some of them I do. The problem with BQE, it's not just a liquid, it's very illiquid, right? Sometimes 3-4 days where, you can't even buy a share. And then when it does get some shares trading, it's not always at a price that you want, right? I'm a big fan of price targets. I set a price I want to buy a stock at. If it doesn't get to that price, that I don't buy it. So, I mean, throughout this time, if I think my target price is $50, well, I only kind of got one day here where it hit $50 and I can only buy 900 shares. So I do struggle with BQE water. I haven't looked at their numbers a whole lot recently, so maybe I should go do that again with the price going down. I might have more interest in them. One of the things with some of these stocks is that, with a high price, especially a high price that is stuck, and I mean, BQE water was stuck there for a long time, despite them putting out, some good things, some good numbers, also some less than good numbers. But when the price is stuck like that, and within a liquid stock, it's hard. There's more risk in that. There's more risk to hold versus, chasing one of these stocks that are going up, 35%. It's hard not to take a look at something like that. What's going on with BQE water? I have no idea. Like I said, I have not looked at this stock in a while. I see that they reported their year-end results 18 days ago. What day was that? So that was April 24th for when they reported. And if we go to BQE water, I'll just throw this here on my screen. Let's see if I could bring them up. BQE water, that's TSXV. I don't even know if there's going to be much trading data here because it's so poorly traded, right? There's not much on the 6 month. That's the problem here, right? Like, what's going on? That's hard to hold. It's just been more selling volume than buying volume for a long time. This is a 6 month chart. That's painful to hold. When you get this one spike back here, five and a half months ago, and then you got to hold all through this. In the microcap space, that's really hard to do. And as you can see, there's been larger and more sells than there's been buying. There's no big buyers stepping up. This is the largest one here. There hasn't been a buyer since back here, which was in early or late November, sorry, of 2024. So I don't know of anything major that's happening to BQE water other than there's consistent selling volume. And why that is, there's not enough buying volume to counteract that. So I don't see any major event. It's just slow death, right? Thoughts on HODL. Oh my gosh, what one is this? Some Soul Strategies. What are these? Some of these stocks. Let's see here. up up 3,200% on the year. Can't wait to see what this one does, right? Cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies. What do we got here? What's the market cap on this? $606 million. I wouldn't really look at it. Not a microcap anymore, right? Market cap's too high for me. It's also on the Canadian Securities, CSE, Canadian Securities Exchange. I'm down to almost never buying a stock on the CSE ever. I've been burned so many times on the CSE. It's almost a full stop for me. Now, in saying that, a bit of a hypocrite because I think I own one. I own Glow Life Tech. That's a CSE stock, so do what I say and not what I do. But I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't know anything about this stock, but of course it's going to be some kind of crypto stock because I've never seen any company properly audited that's a legit company grow revenue at that pace, right? To go from nothing to 15 million in the trailing, nothing in 2022, negative in 2023, and to go to 15 million, 9.4 million, 15 million. Probably not something that this guy is looking at. But I mean, if people make money on it, that's all that matters, right? 80 up 45% in the last month. Yes. What a miracle that is, right? And congratulations to people who bought at the absolute bottom. I mean, ADF Group, for people who don't know, that's a steel producer fabricated steel producer in Canada, and they have a facility in the United States as well. But that hasn't mattered. And I mean, you could see the stock has gone from, $21 and just pure death. It went all the way down to $5 here. And just recently it's back up pretty bullish recently, right? What is it? 769 up 45% in a month, right? Looking at the 3-month chart, this is a banger again. If you did not know the stock or the circumstances of ADF Group, I mean, obviously you'd wonder what the hell happened here. And a lot of this is Donald Trump's tariffs happening is what's causing that as a steel fabricator. But I mean, just the thought of tariffs going away, with the UK getting a 0% tariff deal, with China potentially getting a deal, people are thinking, is Canada next? All of a sudden, that's even attractive to traders, never mind long-term buy and sell investors, right? So congratulations to ADF Group. We'll see if this momentum continues. One of the problems with ADF Group is going to be bag holders, right? A lot of people upset. A lot of people bought all the way through here, including this guy, right? Where's $13? I started buying. I bought some ADF Group in here. I bought some ADF Group in here. So I can legitimately throw myself in the bag holder group, right? Where I owned some shares previously. And one of the problems is if it does continue to go up, there will be disgruntled people who will want to sell and just try to get their money out and move on to a different stock. So that is a concern for ADF Group for sure, right? But up 45% in a month, that would have been a nice pickup, right? Hey, Cam, following you for a couple of months now. Thanks for all the work and research you out there. Yeah, appreciate it. And keep in mind, I like that because I am not a stock picking channel. That's not what I do, right? I don't even try to. What I try to do is I work hard. I do a lot of research and I find a lot of stocks that I think, meet. I typically, if you've been following me for a long time, I take about 100% of the stocks and I reduce them into the top 20%. That's what I like to do. And then once you get down to the top 20%, in my mind, I think everybody should go out and find the best 20% of that 20%, which gives you the best 4% of the stocks. The problem is getting from that 20% to 4% is based on your strategies, your own personal experience, your own preferred investing style, all that kind of stuff, right? So I tend to put in a lot of work just to research and find some of the better stocks out there and communicate that and try to get the conversation going between what I think are the top 20% of stocks and the top 20% of investors and build that community up, right? So thank you. Thank you. I do like doing research. Look forward to your live sessions. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Appreciate it as well. That was a lot of work. You will notice that I have not made a video on YouTube other than a live stream in probably 3 or 4 weeks. I have been burnt out. I do intend to start making videos on individual stocks again on YouTube. That is a goal of mine. Because I researched 110 stocks for Planet Microcap, I need a break. My head was fried, right? And that's why this video is so important for me, because if I'm going to commit that amount of time to researching Planet Microcap and put everything else on hold, I needed to see if it was worth it or not. And researching this video, putting together those numbers, showing that all that time I put in produced 35 to 40% gains in a month, that's worth it. So I do apologize. I haven't made a video on YouTube in a while, and I gotta get on that again, but it was worth it. It was worth it for all that Planet Microcap research. GSI with a Nevada contract. Yeah, they just want to prove me, microcap stocks are fun because I think last week I was talking about Gatekeeper and I was saying their opportunity is Canada right now because they're a Canadian company. Thanks to the tariffs, all governments across Canada have now had this Buy Canada thing. I'm assuming they're going to keep that going. Maybe some of it was just lip service to keep people happy, but there was an extended narrative from governments that were going to prioritize contracts and contract wins for Canadian companies in Canada. So I thought Gatekeeper is going to has a better chance today of winning Canadian contracts than they did before. And then they announce a contract in Nevada. So they're just trolling me. Wasn't a huge contract though. We are waiting for, we're all waiting for Gatekeeper for that $15 million Toronto contract. That's what we're all waiting for, right? Are you more positive nowadays for Zoomed after the China-US trade deal? No, not really. Keep in mind that for me, with my own strategy, when price goes up, so does risk. When price goes up, I expect more out of a company. So I really I last time Zoomed was at 80 something cents. I wrote an article saying I was bearish on the stock. I said there's too many risks that people aren't talking about. It's now at 75 to 80 cents. I think that's a little bit high and I didn't like it. And it dropped to 40 something. And I like Zoomed. Then I changed my mind. I said, look, now the risk is priced in. It's now 43, 44, 45 cents. I don't think the company is this bad. All of a sudden down at 45 cents, I'm bullish on Zoomed again. Now they're back up to 80 cents. Do I have the same concerns that I did before? Not as much. There's a 90-day pause on China. Zoomed was forced to come to Planet Microcap and talk to us more about their company, which was lacking in the past, is that shareholder communication. So I was bearish on Zoomed at 80 cents before. I was bullish down in the 40 cent range. I'm not bearish yet. I mean, I feel better about Zoom today than I did yesterday, and mostly that's due to just communicate openly and honestly with shareholders like you did at Planet Microcap. That was a positive experience from Zoomed. Um, they need to keep proving it. They still lack a little bit of trust, but they have a chance to do so. Have I looked at Everyday People Financial lately? It looks very tempting. No, but I need to. This is another one of these stocks that has a bit of a story to it. I don't want to tell the whole story here, but there was a time when a whole bunch of investors got really interested in Everyday People Financial. Price went up. It was actually one of the fastest growing stocks on my channel. It went up to about $1 pretty quickly until it came out, and I talked about it as well in previous live streams. So it's not secret knowledge, but it did come out that the CEO or management, I forget if it was the CEO, has a bit of a history with certain investors, large investors in the microcap space, and needs to prove trust. So there was a lot of buying on Everyday People Financial. Then there was a lot of selling, and now that seems to have leveled out. It is time to take another look at Everyday People Financial without the bias of management, right? I think if we look at this company again, it needs to be looked at from more of a quant angle. Let's look at the numbers, audited numbers, and make some decisions there. Look, Everyday People Financial should be a banger stock right now because it's a stock that makes money in recessions. It should do well in recessions. So if you believe that a recession is coming, then Everyday People Financial should be a good company for you. Mind is looking very nice right now, poised for a nice run. Absolutely. I'll bring that one up right now. So this is a bit of a teaser because I'm probably writing a Substack article on Mind Technology again. I don't want to go through the whole story, but this share price is getting interesting. You know, after it was a three, I bought it around $3.50. It rocketed up to just about 11. This was Trump right here. This is the middle of February when Trump crashed all the stock market. Mind Technologies took a huge hit. It wasn't just Trump. There's a whole lot of reasons for the sell-off in Mind. Legacy shareholders wanted to sell. Preferred shareholders all of a sudden probably had stop losses on it. Traders got out because the technicals were very weak. There's probably death by 1,000 cuts. There's probably 4 or 5 different reasons why the share price of Mind Technologies crashed from $10, $11 all the way back down to 5. But volatility can be our friend, right? And because of that, went from $4.50 here for a while with Mind Technologies. Now it's back up to the high sixes, 650 to 675. And if you look at this looks pretty attractive. A lot of consolidation here. Technicals starting to improve. Stock market starting to improve a little bit. The M is back in can slim, so to speak. So yeah, I'm pretty interested in Mind Technologies right now. I think they could go on another run. It's sitting at 670 something. I don't see any reason why it's sitting at that price. UK 10%. Yeah, that's the tariff on the UK, if that's what you're talking about. Absolutely. 10% baseline is what Trump's going to do, tariffs for everybody. I said that right from the start. You go in my Discord and check it out. I said months and months and months ago that all this trade tariff, global trade war stuff was all going to result in tariffs of around 5 to 10% is where I figured they'd all land. And so they have a baseline 10% tariffs with some exclusions. So I think it's going to end up right where I thought it would, which is the U.S. is going to have 5 to 10% tariffs on everybody out there. No need to apologize. You deserve a break. Thank you. Thank you. I always feel guilty taking breaks. I went camping last year for like a week. I felt terrible. Look, here's the one break. I actually went, I got married last October, right? And I got on the plane to go to my wedding, and I was on the plane, on the internet, on the plane, and that's where one of my top stocks, Payfair, got cut in like 70%. So maybe I have PTSD now, but it seems like every time I take a break from anything at all, I get PTSD that some stock is just going to crash and I won't be watching it. So, good evening. I just came across your channel. Are you focusing on Canadian stocks? Do you cover stocks from the States? No, I'm heavily moving into stocks from the United States. Absolutely. Even most of these Canadian stocks that I cover that are listed on Canadian exchanges, they're not Canadian stocks, right? Zoom Technologies, I just showed you, is an Israeli headquartered company that operates internationally, but also the States. Mind Technology is a US stock. FitLife is a US stock. WidePoint is a US stock. McCoy Global, which is my number one stock from Planet Microcap. Yes, their accounting department is in Alberta, Canada. Most of their operations are in the United States. I'm not very bullish on Canadian microcaps right now. I'm not. I am if they're outside of Canada and listed on a Canadian exchange. That has potential, but Canada is simply not a powerhouse place for small companies to excel in right now. So a lot of my channel has been transitioning more away from Canadian microcaps, unfortunately. I go wherever the potential is, right? One of my best performing stocks from last year was EZZ.au. It was a stock in Australia, went up like 500%. I made a whole video on it. I said it's a fantastic looking opportunity. Nobody watched the video because it was an Australian stock. Right? It's I'll go anywhere there's opportunity, but it is unfortunate to say that it is harder to find true Canadian microcaps right now. It really is. So I'm covering a lot more US based stocks. And if you go through that list I just showed you, like 80% of those now are probably closer to 95% of them are actually US stocks. Some of them have Canadian tickers. That's all there is to it, right? Do you think the new government's baby build strategy will be positive for Atlas? Well, if they get a contract, that's the risk here, right? How much do you trust them? They're going to start handing out $25 billion to build houses or build developments in Canada. Does that trickle down to Atlas Engineered Products? If that $25 billion ends up trickling down where, Atlas Engineered Products catches lightning in a bottle, it could be the best performing stock in 2026. Absolutely. If they can catch that money in the Vancouver area, in the Ontario area, it could be a banger. But it's speculation, right? That's the hard part for us right now. If you look at the overall housing market in Canada, down, shitty. So it's to the point where we almost have to hope that Atlas Engineered Products catches lightning in a bottle and catches one of those contracts, and even a piece of that $25 billion that they're potentially handing out. Next, MVST, Microvast Holdings. Never heard of it. Let's see here. Yeah, a little bit too large for me. So market cap 778 million. I'm typically a microcap channel. One of the problems with some of these stocks, and I don't know this one, but one of the problems with a stock that's getting larger like this, my question for you would be, how complicated are the filings? How complicated are the earnings releases? The reason that retail investors typically have an advantage in microcap stocks, and why I suggest that it's such a good place to be for microcap investors, is a lot of the earnings can be 12 pages, 12 pages that you need to read every 3 months, plus a couple press releases, news releases. Every year they might have a new executive compensation plan or something. Like, we're talking to fully research a microcap stock, you could probably do it with reading about 100 pages or less per year. One of the things when stocks get to be larger, my question would be, how difficult are the earnings to read? I don't know what this company does. Battery technologies for EVs, I'm not huge on that whatsoever. Been burned a whole bunch of times on that, so I have a bit of a bias. But right now, it looks like the stock is a banger. It's been doing very well. 716 million market cap, trending up. Price to sales 1.84. That's not too bad. Listed on the NASDAQ capital markets. A lot of revenue, a lot of gross profit. I'm not sure why they would have that's why they have a shit pile of debt, eh? So yeah, that's the thing. Once you get into a company this large, I bet this would take me about 5 or 6 hours to research properly, initial research, for me to feel confident to buy my first share. So don't have an opinion on it, and that's why, because in the time it would take me to research one MVST, I could probably research 4 or 5 microcap stocks. And in the time it would take me to look at this one potential opportunity with a microcap, I could look at 3 or 4 or 5 different potential opportunities. And that's my leverage. That's what I have, right? So not saying it's a good stock or a bad stock. I'm saying it would take me way longer than I have here to look at a stock like that. Good to hear. Thank you. I mean, you or I can trade these accessibly on Interactive Brokers. Yeah, that's correct. Look, most serious investors have a platform like Interactive Brokers or equivalent. Depending on where you live, there's different options where you could trade just about anywhere. Canadian, Australian, UK, French, German, US, whatever exchange. Typically, that's not what everybody has. And that's why, right? Like with a lot of, especially with newer microcap investors, like for Canadians especially, I recommend something simple like Wealthsimple. Wealthsimple charges $0 to buy or sell stocks. There's absolutely no fee. It's a really simple platform to learn on. You know, it's easy to just put a little bit of money in there and learn and grow and learn how to invest. It's not an overly complicated platform. I typically don't suggest that a new microcap investor who's just getting started out, go with something like Interactive Brokers to start with. It's complicated. There's so many options. It costs to trade. So if you sell a stock and you realize I screwed up, or if you buy a stock and you realize I screwed up, I want to sell it tomorrow. If they're charging you fees, it's not the best, right? I love Interactive Brokers though, or equivalent for anybody who's thinking of taking microcap investing seriously. You need a beefy exchange, right? Thoughts on name silo? The email domain company seems to just keep going up. Yeah. Look, I love Name Silo. So we researched Name Silo at what's the ticker on this? And this is again a CSE stock, which is a problem. So we researched on my Patreon Discord at here. So this guy stubbornly did not buy shares because, again, Canadian Securities Exchange. So that was dumb of me. And sometimes my own personal biases get in the way of me making money. And I don't want my own personal biases to get in the way of anybody else making money. But this is a highly rated stock for me. They make a lot of cash. The domain industry just keeps growing. This company just keeps growing. This company just keeps gaining money. They're starting to put some cash, not into only share buybacks, but they're also investing into other companies through financings. And yeah, it just keeps going up. I haven't taken a serious look lately at this price, what valuation this is at or anything like that. But I think it would be pretty easy if somebody took the time to model out their growth and model out the growth in their cash flow. And it would be a great study for any newer microcap investors that want a challenge to go do that, because it's been so steady, so consistent, both in share price and in growth, that I don't think it would take more than a few hours to put together a pretty decent model of where Name Silo can go in 2025, 2026, 2027, and tell me whether or not you think this price is good. Because the last time I fully researched it was down here. I thought it had a lot of great opportunity. We pointed it out to everybody in my Discord. And yeah, I didn't buy because of the CSE exchange. So you can't win them all. You definitely can't win them all. If I had, a dollar for every microcap stock that I missed out on, I'd be a much wealthier person. But sometimes, you got to build that strategy and stick to your strategy, right? Why so much faster with microcap evaluations? They're simpler companies, right? A lot of them have one product or one service. That's it. You know, it's not like people have been asking me recently about Well Health Technologies. They have, what do they have? 4 or 5 different CEOs right now running 4 or 5 different business lines. It's a mess to take, and Well Health Technologies is $1 billion market cap stock, and it takes a day to go through their filings in detail, right? So you can go look at a Canadian microcap stock. They're going to have 12-page MD&A. 4 pages of it will be fluff. So you're looking at 8 pages. You'll have 10 pages of financial statements. 6 of them might be important to you. So you'll get an annual earnings for some of these microcap stocks where you're looking at one product or one service, or maybe one product that's got some recurring revenue out the back end. That's all you need to look at. That's all you're focused on, right? And this is a company that's growing, hopefully profitable, hopefully not diluting shareholders, hopefully. Institutions can't buy it. It's too small. But if it keeps growing at that trajectory, all you got to do is go read your 15 pages of earnings every 3 months to make sure that the thesis continues along the lines that you thought it would. That's easy. That's easy, right? Compared to some of these other larger stocks. I always love when somebody asks me about Tesla, and I go look at Tesla, and it's like each one of their earnings is something like 112 pages. Like, I don't have time for that, right? I don't have time for that. I can research 10 different microcap stocks, or I can research Tesla. So that's the difference. That's why we have an advantage. It's simple. Most of them, it's simple. It's easy. It can be predictable if you find a good one, and we have time for it, because I don't know about you, but most people here in microcap investing are not doing this full time. And as a hobbyist or somebody who's just doing this on evenings or weekends, I don't think it would take you more than 2 or 3 months, paying attention on social media, watching my channel, doing your own research to find 3 or 4 or 5 good microcap stocks. And then you only need to find the time to, these 4 or 5 stocks to check on their earnings, every 3 months to make sure that your thesis is still playing out. It simply takes less time. I actually have NameSilo as my domain manager. So do I. Absolutely. So when I did my research on them back at like 30 cents, that's the first thing I did, is I went and bought a domain through NameSilo. They did a great job. It was easy to set up. They upsold me. I went in to buy my domain expecting to spend about $10. I ended up spending about $30. So yeah, I should have bought that stock, because Domain Silo itself, the company did a great job selling me a domain, doing it quickly, easily, and with more of my money in their pocket. It was a good company. It was a good company. Do I use AI to hasten my research? If so, how? Thanks for the detailed replies. No, yes and no. So here's the thing. What keeps people away from microcaps most of the time is they're lazy. I hate to be mean saying that, right? But I know a lot of people that say, I'm an investor. Oh, what do you invest in? Oh, I invest in Tesla or whatever it is. What numbers impress you? What did you think of their last filings? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, they just went on Seeking Alpha and they read the opinion articles, right? So is that investing? There's a lot of investors out there that are using AI and opinion articles. They're being told what to invest in by research that isn't their own. It's either research done by somebody else, or it's research done by an AI program. What keeps them out of microcap stocks is you can't do that. The microcap stocks are volatile. The numbers are crazy. There's a lot of negatives in some of them because they're not even profitable yet. You're looking at inflection points. They don't have consistent growth. Some of the stocks that I've been looking at, if you look at Mind Technology, it's only been an investable stock for the past 5 months. 6 months ago, I would not have touched it, right? So when you're looking at microcap stocks, you have to do the work. You do. You have to go through the filings. You have to read the filings. You have to know how to do the research. You have to do the research. But when you can do that, and it's not very hard, because again, the filings are 10 pages sometimes, you get what I just showed you, which is I researched 100 stocks. It took me a month, and I found 10 of them that returned me 35 to 40%. I put in the time, I put in the work. I found the top stocks, and I got a good return out of it. But you have to do it. In saying that, what I do use for AI is Perplexity AI, and Perplexity is great for certain things, such as asking for, I'll just bring it up, if it'll let me go to it. Oh no, it's verifying that I'm a human. See if it goes here. But Perplexity AI is good for asking, where I'll ask or use AI to help me research a stock. I might ask, has management, or specifically the CEO or CFO, received any SEC charges in the past 20 years? Who is the auditor of X company? Has that auditor ever been charged by the SEC in the past 10 years? What were those charges for? That's the type of questions that I would be using AI for, is to research management, to do more of an in-depth search on management, and to do a more in-depth search on auditors and stuff like that, as well as looking for news releases. The other thing that I use AI for is I do pay for ChatGPT. One of the reasons that I'll do that is because if you look here, you could add filings. So you can add filings to ChatGPT, and it'll help you read some of the filings. But you have to pay for the extended product to be able to have ChatGPT to read those filings. It's not the free ChatGPT that'll do that. So that's, I think it's $25 US per month. So that's the only 2 AI programs that I personally use. Everything else I do the work on manually by myself. And I use Wise Sheets, but that's a different story. Let's see here. That's it. That's all the questions. That's all the concerns. I'm done. I'm an hour into this. So another Monday evening live stream. I'll try to have a video out on a stock this week. I'm going to start writing Substack articles again. I took a bit of time off. I was burnt out, but I'm feeling excited again. It's a video like this showing that research, putting in the research and the time can result in good returns, got me motivated again. Let's keep going. It looks like the market is doing well right now. US and China are friends again. Let's go make some money. Right? So thank you. You're welcome. And I look forward. I do this every Monday evening. So I hope to see you again in a week to talk more about some different microcap stocks. You've been watching Common Sense of Investing. As always, thank you for your time.